Zone of the
Zone of
Enders.
Enders 3, that's never gonna happen. We would love it to happen. Don't get me wrong. We will love it to happen, but it's never gonna happen. Those game they need to keep dreaming. Robot games, they don't sell well in North America like maybe they used to.
Unless they could try to revamp a Mech Warrior, at least that. But I doubt it.
You just even the fight between Metal Gear Ray and Rex on Metal Gear Solid 4, even that wasn't all that great either. Just robot games don't really do well.
Yeah.
You know, at least here,
Rock and
Japan
sock
obviously
robots,
is a different
that's what they are.
story. Japan, they love Gundam. You know, they love all kinds of different, Japanese robots.
They love Gundam as we love, like, Bruce Willis and Die Hard. That's all.
Why they keep
That's all I'm
making
saying.
Gundam? Why they keep making Gundam? I have no clue. Matter of fact, when the PS3 came out, Gundam was one of the first games that came out for it. It was one of the lowest rated games of this generation. I don't think it's
Oh.
the lowest, but it's one of the lowest rated games of this generation.
Did
And they're
that
still coming at it.
Gundam
It's still
game
coming out.
try to be a bit like a Dynasty
Like I
Warriors?
said, Armor Core was awesome. It doesn't do it anymore. The crowd is not there anymore. Even the
no.
hardcore crowd, there's not a lot of them. At least not enough to make a full big budget title. You could do digital download, smaller Armor Core
Yeah.
on PSN or something. You could do that, but as a full budget big video game, it's never gonna happen. They're not having high expectations for it.
I mean, we played the original Mass Effect, even though it had some issues, but the first one was overall a really good game overall, despite all the problems. But
Oh yeah.
Mass Effect 2 improved some, even though there's still a few, but it's still,
It is a great
and
game.
yeah,
Now finally I could talk to some of my PS3 gamers about, what were their endings for Mass Effect 2,
yeah.
But I also wonder, because you didn't play, or those people hasn't played part 1, because one of the things that really blew me away about Mass Effect 2 is just your decisions in the first game affects the second game. And with PS3
as
gamers
long-
not really having that, I always feel that they're not going to get the full 100%,
Yeah.
of what Mass Effect 2 is. I will say, I will give them credit. There was in the beginning of the game, there's a 15-minute little comic book clip
yeah,
that will let you decide the fate of those characters in part 1 in those comic books, or in that,
yeah.
which I thought was kind of a cool, thing, just to kind of, lead them along. But like I said, it's totally stoked for them. I hope it sells well. It deserves to sell well.
What about Dragon Age 2?
You know what? For some reason, and I love Dragon Age 2 was, oh, not Dragon Age 2. Dragon Age 1 was, if not for Batman and Uncharted, would have been my game of the year personally. It was a game that was never on my radar at all. And then, it was getting like 9s out of 10s everywhere, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what in the world is going on? Like, what is this game all about? And
Yeah,
I
I mean,
rented the game.
Same here.
I played the game, rented the game, and I was like, oh, this game is pretty good, And then it was like
Yeah.
30 hours later, I was like, oh, this game, I'm still playing the game. And I was like, I was just hooked to the story.
It's just a story that grabs you.
Because
that's
the
it.
one thing that a lot of games do, and usually do very well, is just, have a specific moment where there's an obvious cut in the chapter. Like, okay, this is the part when we relax. And then we go off to chapter 2.
Yeah.
Where Dragon Age doesn't really have that. It's like you keep meeting new people and you wanting to know more about them, and then that adds up to something else, then adds up to something else, and then there's no like stopping point. You just
No.
keep going, And that's what happened. I mean, I spent like 3 days playing that game for like I think 7 hours each day or something. Just constantly playing that game. I just could not stop at all.
Mm.
So it seems like the same thing is happening with this game, where I'm not really paying attention to it, but I know it's gonna be good. I know I'm gonna totally freaking put many hours into that game. you know, first one wasn't perfect. You know, I there were moments where I had to start over because one of the enemies which I had to kill in order to move on was stuck under the map.
Okay, yeah.
So I had to kind of start over from like an hour save, which kind of, you know,
Yeah.
it pissed me off a little bit, but that game was just, I was riveting through the whole entire experience, man. And I was like, damn, this is just one character out of like 7 or something. And they have their own specific storylines, and I just love it,
Yeah,
man. It's
yeah.
just, it's the story in that game. I want it to be similar in Mass Effect, where there's really no black and white. Mass
Yeah.
Effect doesn't have the black and white too much either, but it's there. I mean,
Yeah.
you know when you're doing a good and bad thing. It's fairly obvious.
Yeah.
In Dragon Age 1, it wasn't as obvious. A lot of the points wasn't as obvious. And I'm hoping
Yeah.
they can take that over to Mass Effect 3 and like not make every decision I make be so like here's the good and here's the evil.
Yeah. It's also like what they did with The Witcher. And
Or Alpha Protocol.
yeah, it's it. Alpha Protocol. Yeah.
Did I get it?
While we were chatting, that they're going to perhaps be rumors of a Metal Gear Solid HD pack coming out, or a collector's edition like we saw with Splinter Cell HD and Prince of Persia and all these games coming on HD.
Yeah.
So they may be coming out with a full collection HD Metal Gear Solid series, which I'm totally stoked for. I'm totally stoked
Well,
for. I don't
probably
think they're
for,
gonna
like,
go
1,
back
2,
and do
3,
anything else with the other
First
stuff.
Metal Gear
but-
Solid and yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna go back and do anything, like go way back to like the NES or something. But I don't think they're, I think
No, I
I
don't
think they're gonna
think
move
so.
forward. I think it's like okay, it's
Yeah.
Rising now. We gotta do something with Raiden. So I think, but we'll see. We'll see.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm not crazy about Raiden, but I'll
Yeah,
give
I'm just
them.
crazy about the gameplay itself. I mean, like I'm not really a big fan of stealth games. But when I saw that the dynamic cut gameplay and what
Yeah,
they did with that,
it looks cool.
That means I better push aside Afro Samurai and pop this one in.
And it would be a great thing. I think it would be a very cool thing because at the beginning of the CG video, when he was fighting that weird boss guy with the gun,
Yeah.
and he was basically, you know, he was kind of like Batman, where he was on the roof, basically, you know, moving around trying to get to him.
Okay.
It would be very cool if they have the combination of what we saw with the sword combat
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the system of Batman Arkham Asylum, where you're on the roof of this building and you're kind of trying to maneuver around,
Yeah.
you know, these different places or whatever. I think that would be very cool. It
Oh.
would change things up. You'll still be stealthy because Batman, he had to be stealthy in Arkham Asylum too, so
Oh yeah.
that, you know, that stealth will always be there.
Oh yeah. That's the thing that he's a ninja in that one. I mean, Raiden is a ninja in that game.